then I wanted to see, okay, so if I can do it remotely when it's my practice, so they're my staff, so I can manage it, so because I've got a little bit more controls in place. Would it work if it wasn't my practice? Would it be able to do the same thing? So I can't remember if I spoke to Des first or she spoke to me, but Des Perry and PE, I think Bev Bolton put us in contact. So anyway, we started talking, and I went through to PE, and we talked about how they could try and work almost like on our systems, but their own practice, but that we could show them how to do the IOD patients the way we were doing them, and see if we could get a different type of business going. And they were just fantastic, because Des was going in, or she was working with Bill Moret. They decided to go into partnership, and there was lots of trial and error, and they were just amazing, because the old mantra of nothing's as constant as change. Well, it was change every 5 minutes there, and there were so many curveballs thrown at us in terms of financing and all of that stuff. So they started seeing patients. I went through there. We did marketing to the doctors together. We tried to look at the best way to their layout, and the space that they were in was sort of more a typical doctor's rooms. And it was limiting them, because they didn't have enough space to be able to do what they needed to do. So they then identified a little house that they could buy, and that's always a good idea if you can own the premises. And it was just over the road from the hospital, because we'd learned those lessons that you've got to be close to source. And so they bought that, and I don't think it was easy, because it wasn't business. Again, as your business grows, you put money into it, and but they then built their practice up from there. So cash flow, working with the injury on duty patients, cash flow is a problem. And as passionate as you are about the patient, it's very difficult to run a business or just to be able to pay your rent if you're treating mainly IOD patients. So I've been working with a company that did bridging. So they would pre-fund money to me on invoices, and I still remember I was overseas. I'd gone over to a conference, and I was taking my mom over there, and I was in a hotel in Barcelona, and I remember looking at my phone, and it was the end of July, and it was nighttime, and I got this email from this company that said, as of the 1st of August, we will not be pre-funding anymore. We've gone into liquidation. And that was my entire cash flow for my business. So I put on my tackies and I went for a long run. But so I came back and talked to Martin and Mark, and I said, it's done. All these dreams that we've got, but there's no money coming in. And Martin pulled in his long-term school friend and business partner, Dean Smith, and that's the short story of it, but we basically put in we did a joint venture, and we got a bridging company involved. So, which meant that it was quite a fundamental point to us rolling forwards. Not that bridging is as big a thing now, but it was putting systems in place so that we could prove that we could do all the different steps, and we could work out how risky the case was, so that when we were treating a patient, we weren't just treating in the dark. So, and that's what we were doing before. We didn't know whether we were going to get paid or not. So we put systems in place so we could say, okay, even though the funder hasn't even acknowledged this patient, we know that we've got everything in place so that that will be paid sometime. And then we had this bridging finance so that the practice could survive. So when we were working with Des and them, so their practice was they'd started this little house and things were going from strength to strength. And then Anna Swanepoel approached me from Bloemfontein, or maybe I approached her. I don't know how it worked. I remember we saw each other at a workshop. And she was keen to be part of the network as well. And these first people into these things are brave souls, because we're working it out as we went. And she had an amazing established practice already, and she wanted to now add on. She just understood the part of the branding, and being able to sell it as a brand. So she then grew her injury on duty part of the practice, the RAP side of the practice, and then in more recent years, both practices took on BNAP quickly. And then the third practice that came on board was in Nelspruit, and so those three practices were really the fledglings. I then went and opened my own practice in Joburg and in Durban, because it was quite hard to get people on board. I needed this national network, but it was quite hard to explain to practices what it is that we were doing. We didn't have an IT system properly yet. I didn't have any contracts in place. We didn't have as many systems and processes. So I really needed people that understood and believed in me and that's why I ended up opening two of my own practices, just to try and speed it up a little bit. But obviously opening your own practices just is financially quite heavy, and it slowed the process down a little bit. But we needed that time, because we needed to keep building into the IT system and getting our procedures in place and getting our understanding what the outcomes were that we needed to measure.